Hello, good afternoon once again, and I'm happy to be joined again onto the conference for the Actors 2023 conference. And also, on behalf of myself and my students, we are happy to also present the new paper, which is the an ERP implementation case study in South African small business enterprise sector, paper ID 63. So my name is Oluwasegun Julius Aroba, and my co-author is Sanele Badwin. And permit me to go straight forward to the presentation. From our abstracts, we do know that the use of technologies for enterprise resource planning, which is ERP, has always been an improvement to companies' daily operations and also small medium businesses with growth over time. However, there has been, without its shares of difficulties in terms of small business enterprise across the South African business. Firstly, in our abstracts, we actually mentioned that the first adoption of implementation of SAP ERP comes with a very huge cost of expenses for organizations to be able to deploy SAP enterprise resource planning. And with this, on the other hand, there has been a lot of problematic for organizations for organizations in terms of the scalability and also in terms of the dynamic in business shift for small medium enterprise within South African sectors. And most of these small medium enterprises are not actually making use of SAP ERP because of the costs of implementation. And there are open source SAP ERP that is now in the market that people can actually use, but only that there is a limited component that they can actually use. And with this, there has been a lot of indication along this line that SAP ERP has been a bit, do I say, is not being deployed in a massive route for most medium from the papers, from the literatures that we've seen from small medium enterprise systems. And this now indicates that the small medium enterprise systems, enterprise businesses in South Africa sector, they're not making use of this because of the cost that is associated with this open source SAP ERP. And this has now led to us to now see how we could introduce and suggest for the implementation of this. And our data, we actually use the primary objective of this was for us to be able to just see how this can be adopted into the small medium enterprise in the business within the Durban area, KwaZulu-Natal of South Africa. And the purpose of our study was to investigate both the driving and also the impediments of adoption of SAP ERP. And we looked at qualitative and quantitative approaches in these case studies in terms of just a literature review that we looked at. And the scope of this investigation was broadened with the fact that the industries have not been able to start implementing in this small medium, they've not been implementing this as foresee. And this investigation has led to broaden our understanding from the information that we've gathered that open source alternatives are also quite useful for some of these small medium enterprises business. According to the findings that we found in our literature review and also in the methodology aspect where we were able to write about to introduce about some of these small medium enterprises are aware of the advantages that this will bring into their system, but because of the cost wise and because of the company size wise, most of them are not actually using this. And a large number of businesses has changed from being a standalone over time, especially when COVID affected a lot of businesses. And we have now been able to look at ERP. I know some people might be wondering what is ERP? ERP is a process that is being used in different organizations across the globe to manage, to integrate the other parts or different departments in an organization via a software that is connected, and the business can always have different departmental, i.e., planning, purchasing department, inventory department, sales, marketing, finance, human resources, and so on and so forth. Every department can be connected to a central unified software that can be used for this business to be able to come into fruition for in terms of their infrastructure. And South African small medium businesses has not been able to look at this in a very deep in-depth. And the market has the greatest impact in the business, but becoming more competitive because of the implementation of these softwares that could help them to integrate this. So this has also helped to, because with the implementation of SAP ERP open source softwares, there can be a great improvement in the businesses, which are some of the things that we'll discuss in our paper. So just like what I said now, the adoption of ERP is very, very minimal. And it is very critical for businesses of any size to be able to make use of this in South African businesses. And most of this business, despite the existence of SAP ERP, they've not been able to look at how it can help their systems. And from the literature, we also gathered that there are a lot of availability of different open source softwares that can be used in place of ERP development for these businesses. And for this takes us further. According to some of this in the literature, the main point that we actually find out is that ERP provide different improvements for businesses operation despite the advantages. It's offered for enterprise resource planning, and the main problem is that the uptake is very low in South African markets business, especially in the area of small medium enterprise. And in this particular segmentation, we looked at different ERP tools and also some of the businesses that has been able to look at the implementation. And we now focus on the ingredients of success of ERP adoption. And we also further looked at the characteristics of open source softwares and how they were being developed for small medium businesses and the critical role it has played in the businesses. We also went further to also look at the viability of these SMEs and how they've been using it in different companies, such as manufacturing companies, in terms of products, in terms of unified database, in terms of the systems itself that can be a great, huge benefit to the businesses, and what are their significant contribution to these businesses. And we also further look at these reasons because businesses all over the globe have started using ERP systems, but has not been able to show an effective platform for oil and gas industry. And that's why we look at if you recall, we said for small, medium businesses and so on and so forth. And some of these objectives has also been that the research has been able to break down this portion of the study in terms of how they were able to examine their ways and also how they were able to determine the obstacles and to provide a framework that could help them in this small medium enterprise systems. And some of the problem statement for our research is the area where we have different open source solutions that have been designed for businesses, but they were limited. And research on users' view and implementation challenges is also being required. And we'll focus on this much more further because the understanding of small medium business firm, it has also led to different characteristics that can be a very good backbone for South African economy to be able to become much more stronger in terms of be it large, be it small, and be it the kind of size wise, or in terms of expansion that can integrate the businesses to include IT system that could make their system and operation and procedures to be well documented, well integrated, having a central repositories to be able to influence the decisions and the data for these businesses. So on the other hand, we now looked at the methodology after our introduction, after the literature review. We look at the primary source of data where we investigate further for adoption of trend in businesses, because the most significant or most important aspect is the implementation of ERP. And also other options being used as ERP system orders to ERP adoptions. We also looked at that. And there are different forms of SAP platforms that people also use, or the components, if I may put it that way. And we also look at the qualitative approach for this data to be for this approach from the paper, and the use of quantitative tools that are used for making their essential analysis for their businesses in terms of face-to-face interviews and so on and so forth. And we looked at that. So it is very critical for choosing articles for reviews, which we've actually looked at in our paper. And also the exceptions is that articles that are explicitly dealing with ERP, some of them have reasons that the author did not use ERP in a little way in different forms. This inclusion of such articles are inevitable, and they are consequently possible for them to be able to look at different surveys that could be suggested for nearest future. So on this note, after our conclusion, after our methodology that we've been able to analyze in the paper in for this conference, we've now been able to see that the wider range of implementations related tasks, such as setting up the project plan or such as setting up the business goals, and also making enough resources to be allotted for them to be able to produce different designs or different departments in managing the operations, for them to include this implementation or adoption, if I may call it, for these South African small medium businesses. It will help them to increase the accessibility of data. It will enhance information to be at one point, and information will be accurate and up to date rather than the manual form of operation. And it will help them to be able to process things faster, to faster response rates when you compare to the manual form of operation. In addition, research has been able to highlight the critical success element for this implementation to be, and additionally, it also revealed that different difficulties are associated with different small medium businesses for implementing SAP ERP. On the lighter note, or on a concluding note, I would say a lack of training and high cost of this has led to a lot of SMEs now being taken aback or a setback for not being implementing those operations. So on conclusion, on a lighter note, ERP can give both strategical and tactical implementation impacts in terms of the things the company are meant to do, or for future organization implementation of IT. We do recommend that SAP ERP will be a very good one for small medium enterprise business in South Africa. Thank you very much. This is the end of our presentation. If you have any question, please do us a favor by sending it through, or do contact the conference organizer, and we will do so by answering those questions. Thank you.